Welcome to Rise Untold, where the stories behind the spotlight come alive. What if I told you that Johnny Depp's highest-rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes isn't Pirates of the Caribbean? It's not Edward Scissorhands, not Sweeney Todd, and definitely not Alice in Wonderland. In fact, I guarantee 90% of you have never even seen this movie, and when I reveal what it is, you're going to be absolutely shocked. Johnny Depp has starred in over 70 films throughout his career, from swashbuckling adventures to gothic fantasies with Tim Burton. But his highest-rated film, according to critics, is something completely unexpected. Are you ready for this? It's A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984. Yes, you heard that right. The horror movie where Johnny Depp played a supporting role. And here's the kicker. It was his very first movie ever. This film holds an incredible 95% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Let that sink in for a moment. Pirates of the Caribbean? Only 79%. Edward Scissorhands? 90%. Sweeney Todd? 86%. But A Nightmare on Elm Street sits at the top with 95%. The most ironic part? Johnny Depp was just 20 years old and had zero acting experience when he landed this role. So what exactly is this movie about? A Nightmare on Elm Street was directed by horror master Wes Craven in 1984. The story follows Freddy Krueger, a burned serial killer who haunts teenagers in their dreams, killing them in their sleep. Johnny Depp played Glenn Lance, the boyfriend of the main character Nancy Thompson. His role was simple, a typical American teenager, but he delivered such a natural performance that audiences couldn't tell this was his debut. Here's where it gets really interesting. Johnny Depp never intended to become an actor. He was a musician who wanted to make it in a band. His then-wife Lori Depp had a friend named Nicolas Cage, and it was Cage who suggested Johnny should audition for this horror film. Talk about a life-changing conversation. Now, Johnny Depp didn't have a massive amount of screen time in A Nightmare on Elm Street, but the scenes he was in became absolutely memorable, especially his death scene where Freddy kills him in the dream world. The practical effects were incredible, blood erupting from the bed like a fountain. This scene is still talked about by horror fans nearly 4 decades later. What made Johnny's performance so special was his complete naturalism. There was no overacting, no unnecessary drama, just a believable teenager reacting to supernatural terror. At such a young age, he showed the kind of screen presence that would later make him one of Hollywood's biggest stars. The cast also included Heather Langenkamp as Nancy, John Saxon, and Robert Englund as the iconic Freddy Krueger. Here's the biggest irony of Johnny Depp's entire career. All of his most famous movies, the Pirates franchise that made him a global superstar, Alice in Wonderland that grossed over $1 billion worldwide, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that showcased his quirky persona. None of them matched the critical acclaim of this 1984 horror film. His most expensive movies, his most popular characters, everything falls short of that 95% rating. After A Nightmare on Elm Street, Johnny landed a role in the TV series 21 Jump Street, which turned him into a teenage heartthrob. Then came his collaboration with Tim Burton in Edward Scissorhands in 1990, which launched his journey into playing eccentric, unforgettable characters. But the foundation for everything was laid by this horror movie debut. A Nightmare on Elm Street wasn't just a critical success, it was also a commercial hit. Made on a budget of just $1.8 million, it earned over $25.5 million at the box office. For a horror film in 1984, this was massive. Critics praised Wes Craven's direction, the innovative concept of a killer who attacks through dreams, and those groundbreaking practical effects that still hold up today. This movie launched an entire franchise. 9 films were made in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Freddy Krueger became a pop culture icon, appearing on everything from lunchboxes to Halloween costumes. And Johnny Depp? He became one of the biggest movie stars in the world. Yet his highest-rated film remains that first one from when he was just starting out. Think about this for a moment. In Pirates of the Caribbean, Johnny created Captain Jack Sparrow, one of cinema's most beloved characters. He earned an Oscar nomination and achieved worldwide fame. But the rating? Only 79%. Edward Scissorhands became a cult classic and showed his incredible range as an actor, 90% rating. Sweeney Todd earned him a Golden Globe and showcased his singing abilities, 86% rating. Everything pales in comparison to that 95% from A Nightmare on Elm Street. And most people haven't even seen this movie properly because they don't expect to see Johnny Depp in a horror film from the early 80s. The really fascinating part about this whole story is how it represents the unpredictable nature of Hollywood success. Here's a young musician who stumbled into acting, landed a small role in a low-budget horror movie, and accidentally created the foundation for one of the most successful careers in cinema history. That same movie, which most people have forgotten about, remains his highest achievement in terms of critical recognition. Yes, oh, there you have it. Johnny Depp's biggest surprise. His highest-rated movie isn't any of the films that made him famous. It's his very first film from 39 years ago. A Nightmare on Elm Street sits at the top of his filmography on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's likely to stay there. If you haven't seen this movie, you absolutely should. Whether you're a horror fan or not, it's an important piece of cinema history. And for Johnny Depp fans, it's essential viewing. You get to see a young, fresh-faced Johnny in a completely different type of role than what he became known for. What do you think about this revelation? Have you seen A Nightmare on Elm Street? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more surprising facts about your favorite actors, make sure to subscribe to Rise Untold for more stories that will blow your mind.